They probably gonna want to kill me what I just figured out, but we're gonna go anyway. This is called the clouds of humanity, and I just came up with this exactly in this introspective state that I was in. Okay, and this is a whole breakdown of all the reality as you know it. Okay, now watch this. The first cloud, which majority of human beings are on, right? Depending on where you are, look, can connect to internet. Now they messing with my internet connection. But anyway, this is where majority of human beings are, is politics, bills, modern science, religion, entertainment, things that are all of that branch. They branch off. You get what I'm saying? The minute you get on social media, you hear them talking about politics, what's going on with Trump, what's going on with Biden, what's going on with the legislative branches, what's going on with Kamala Harris, what's going on, what are they doing behind the scenes, what's happening with the celebrities, what's going on with Ace Hood, what's going on with, you know what I'm saying, Meek Mill, what's going on with Drake, what's going on with Kendrick, all of these different names or power that they're able to pull from and extract so they can keep you in this cloud. The funny thing is, though, when you look up the etymology of these words, there always has to be a storm that comes from under these clouds, or in other words, a rain. The etymology of the word storm etymologically means convulsion. What does that mean? Convulsion means a violent convulsion, social or political upheaval, which just means a disruption, which just means that there are things that emanate, that come from this cloud. Once somebody ends up questioning this cloud, the only way that you can leave this cloud is if you truly, with all your heart, question everything that's on it. If not, then you could still be on this cloud. But let's keep going. So this is cloud 2. Cloud 2 is where what? You question all of these things, self-realizations, awareness. This is what you would know as the conscious community, or in other words, the woke community, as they call it. The cloud brings what would be called woke, but still is not the complete analysis of all of reality. Once you're woke, that's good, but you still have to get ready. For example, if you're working, you have to get up, set your alarm clock. The alarm clock will awaken you. You can sometimes just sit on top of your bed, at the side of your bed, and just sit there like, damn, I ain't trying to go. You got to go to work. You got to get it going. And I'm just using that as a reference to explain about how this is explained when it comes to consciousness or processes of human beings. So once you're out of that state, you're in cloud 3. Now I put, this is where you dive deep into yourself. You realize the world is false, and therefore finally see how that played on you yourself. So this is what I meant by working, or other words, what you would call working on your inner world, working on the traumas, working on the fears, working on the anxiety that was put in you from today's society. I'm going through this stage now. Exactly. This is where you start to understand and uncover more about yourself. Once you uncover more about this reality, this is the reason why everybody's saying that everything's a distraction. First of all, you need to realize that people can even learn from the distractions what truly matters. Okay? Just because something's a distraction doesn't mean that you could also not learn about yourself from it. Do you hear what I mean? If I'm listening to a song where all this artist is talking about is killing, murder, drugs, women, I can learn from the fact, yo, this is the only part of reality these actually had access to or we ever touched. So that means then what are parts of me that I've experienced beyond that I could actually go inside and be like, y'all, way more than what he's even talking about. So this is the cloud 3. The stage can be difficult, very, causing to find the flaws in you, things that may have not been healthy for you on this journey. And okay, watch this. This is exactly what I'm talking about with what will be known as a spiritual community, or even, you know what I'm saying, certain religious sectors, or even people that are atheists, people that, anybody that has questioned this and it's came to a certain reality, they end up believing that they have beat all that is to the game. Oh, the earth is flat, so now we woke into the point where we don't need to do anything anymore. Oh, we got crystals and sage and meditate now, so that means that you can't tell us what. That builds an ego emanating, and you're still stuck in the cloud. So this is the reason why I'm saying that people don't ever reach cloud 3. If you did, congratulations. Where you start to reflect and look at yourself as not only that could have been a force of a problem, but now you look as yourself as a solution for all of this reality or this existence. You have to go through this cloud 3 though. This is where you're like, damn, like all of the traumas hit me, all of the pain that I went through, all of the experiences. This is way deep than any of discovering that you could have had, but there's a reason why it's structured this way, because it's supposed to be like that on this journey, right? So look, once you finally get past cloud 3, then there's the question, what are all of these clouds hiding? Has anybody ever thought of that question? Why are all these clouds built up? Well, for example, let's just use a synopsis of our reality. When you start looking up in the clouds, right? Exactly. What are they hiding? They're hiding the abode of what will be known as the celestial gateway, or in other words, heaven. But like I said, some people believe that heaven doesn't exist, or that the celestial world doesn't exist because of the fact that they could have been making this up and space isn't real. Listen, this is the reason why I'm saying that they did this shit on purpose, intentionally, to keep everybody arguing about whether some damn space or not exists, or the earth is flat, and we all on something with we all here. Regardless of whatever you ascribe to or you believe, we're here for some weird reason. That's the point that they don't want you to know about. So, what did I write here? Why were all these clouds brought forth? It's to what? To distort the image of what truly matters. And that's the celestial gateways. Or what you would know as space, or the universe, or the stars, or the supernovas. All of the things that we don't really ever talk about because of the simple fact that, well, we haven't reached that level. We're still dealing with the clouds. Our mind is clouded. You ever heard that? But cloud 9 means what? You're above and beyond all of these things. Now you're able to have that connection with what will be known as what the clouds are hiding. And now you're reaching certain levels that people aren't able to reach. So you can be able to talk and explain to people that are even stuck on cloud 1 what this is all about, because people end up doubting, or not doubting, but they down themselves for being at cloud 1. You're not supposed to beat yourself down for being a sheep or being a bot. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to look at that as a means to be able to reach and explode and communicate with others that may be going through this cloud at this exact moment. It wasn't supposed to be egotistical and be like, oh yeah, now I'm above all of you people. That's what happens. So when you let that cloud, then it becomes a storm that you can't reach anybody else up, that you can't reach anybody off of. This is all the reality that we're talking about in this exact moment. So once you reach this level, that cloud 3, you've done a lot of work. You're starting to work on yourself. You're starting to get yourself together, develop yourself. Because once you realize that you're the problem, then you start finding solutions. You start going to the gym. You start meditating. You start praying. You start, focusing on gratitude. You start looking up things. You even may be in debates, and sometimes you may say that you don't know just because you don't know. You ever met somebody that's in a debate and they have to keep explaining something they know ain't true just because of the fact that it's holding on to their ego and they don't want to be wrong? That's the cloud 2 that they're still stuck on. And there may be some times where somebody could end up reverting back to cloud 3 all the way back to cloud 1. You don't beat yourself down for that. You just know where you're at, so you can rise up all the way to cloud 9. But you see how it looks like it's a descension process? It's not a descension process. It's flipped around. It's actually you reaching a higher level. But in order to reach a higher level, you must reach the lower level of yourself. Damn, that's deep. Woo! Do you see what I mean? Come on now.